Hello, it's Cal from CMC Learning, and you probably clicked on this video because you saw this really interesting trigonometric question and you wondered how to solve it, or you wanted to give it a go yourself. So this is a question from, I believe, the TMUA 2023 paper 1, and it looks like this. It asks you how many solutions there are to this funky looking equation. So I'll give you a chance to pause the video and give it a go yourself. But without further ado, let's crack on with this. So, right, the first thing we want to do here is we can do the following. So we've got 2 to the tan squared x over 1 equals 4 to the sine squared x. We can change this 4 sine squared x to 2 to the power of 2 to the power of sine squared x. And then what we can do with that is we can change this 2 to the power. We can use exponent laws. And so this 2 can times by this. Index laws, rather. And so we have 2 to the tan squared x over 2 to the 2 times sine squared x equals 1. So we have two things divided by each other and it equals 1. And so we can say that, well, 2 to the tan squared x must equal 2 to the 2 sine squared x. And this must mean that tan squared x is equal to 2 sine squared x. You can just take log base 2 of both sides. Okay, so now we've got this. This is more promising. We've managed to take the trigonometry out of the exponents. So the best thing to do here now is to make it so we're dealing with only one trigonometric function as opposed to several. So we can change this tan squared x to sine squared x over cos squared x and equal this to 2 sine squared x. Let's move down. Give us more space. We can multiply both sides by cos squared x. So we have sine squared x equals 2 sine squared x times by cos squared x. But I'm just going to change this cos squared x to 1 minus sine squared x. This is a well-known identity. Cos squared x is equal to 1 minus sine squared x. Okay, we can expand this now. So I get sine squared x equals 2 sine squared x minus 2 sine to the 4 x. And let's just simplify this a little bit. So we get sine to the 4x minus 2 sine to the 4x minus sine squared x equals 0. I just moved everything to this side. Okay, so now we've got this. We're going to do a little trick where we do a substitution. So we're going to let y equal sine squared of x. And so now this equation will turn to 2y squared minus y equals 0. And this is now a lot easier to solve. We can factorize out our y. So we have y multiplied by 2y minus 1 equals 0. And this means that, well, y equals 0 or 2y minus 1 equals 0. Now, so So this means that y equals 0 or y equals 1/2. And that just comes from making y the subject on this equation here. Okay, but what is y? We need to remember what y is. Y is sine squared x. So we have sine squared x equals 0 or sine squared x equals 1/2. Now what does this mean? So sine squared x equaling 0 just means that sine x equals 0. We're taking the square root of both sides. Sine squared of x equaling 1/2, well, we take the square root of both sides, and we're going to get that sine x is equal to plus minus 1 over root 2. That's just taking the square root of this. Okay. So, now we must remember the question isn't asking us for the solutions. If we scroll back up, it's saying how many solutions are there to the equation in this particular range. And if you're confused about this, this is equivalent. If you prefer working in degrees, this is the same as x less than 360 greater than or equal to 0. It's just two different ways of measuring angles. You can measure them in degrees or you can measure them in radians. And that's what this is measured in. But they are equivalent. And also notice that, pay good attention to, they are both less than or equal to. So x can be 0 and x can be 360 degrees. Or x can be 0 and x can be 2 pi radians. Okay. But it's fairly straightforward from here. We can draw sine x. We can draw the graph of sine x between 0 and 360, or 2 pi. And we can see that it equals 0 3 times. So that means there are 3 solutions from this equation. And the plus minus 1 over root 2, we don't need to know exactly where this is, although you should. You should know without a calculator. I should say, this question is to be done without a calculator. So don't be cheating. But this is approximately, the main issue here is this between 1 and minus 1? Because if it's outside of that range, then there is no solutions. But roughly this is approximately 0.707, plus minus 0.707. Because root 2 is approximately 1.414, something like that. I hope that's right. 1 over, I'm using a calculator. Ha, hypocrite. Yeah, I was right. Roughly 0.707. And so it's going to be roughly about here, this line. And we can see sine x is positive 0.707 twice. So that's 2 more solutions. And it's minus 0.707, 1 over root 2, about 2 times in this range. So that's another 2 solutions. So we have counted 7 solutions, 3 plus 2 plus 2. And this is where you check the answers and you check the options and you hope to God it's an option, and it is. And that is the answer. There are 7 solutions to this equation. And if you wanted to go one step further, you could solve these two equations. To solve this without a calculator, you'd need to know your exact trig values. And at CMC Learning, we'll try and get a video out on that soon. But anyway, thank you for watching the video.